Alright, so a couple weeks ago, I filmed a cinematic on this channel, and for the first time, I used Film Convert. Now, Film Convert was recommended to me by a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel named Of Two Lands. You guys should give them a follow, but it kinda just made sense. What's going on, guys? My name is Chris, and in this video, one, I'm probably gonna solve this Rubik's Cube for you because I have nothing else to do. But two, we're gonna talk about my process for editing and color grading my cinematics. An important thing that I focused on with the last cinematic that was posted a few weeks ago was the composition and the color. Because California is a beautiful location, I was able to just kind of walk around and document. And it was my first time going out and filming with the Blackmagic. And oh my God, the results are wonderful. This camera is absolutely insane. So random thing is, like, one of my favorite things to do is solve Rubik's Cubes. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's something I really, really enjoy. It's something I figured out when I was, I don't know, I think the first time I solved the Rubik's Cube was I was probably in like 6th grade, but they kind of just made sense to me. You know, color is one of those things that I really, really enjoy, and it's one of those things that I love doing right. So here's a look behind the scenes of what my workflow was like with Film Convert. And I don't know, it's a little unorthodox video, and it's not like necessarily 100% educational, but I do want to show you what I learned and how eye-opening it was. And if it is a little eye-opening for somebody like you, then look into it, like, please. It made so much sense. If you ever want to get that film look to your digital footage, Film Convert. I'm gonna kick it to Chris at the desk, and we are going to talk about how we color grade. All right, so I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible, as quick as possible, to try to convey the most information. So I already have my footage here on my timeline. I have Blackmagic footage as well as some Sony A7B cam footage. And then same here, Blackmagic footage as well as the Sony A7B cam. And then here I just have some footage from my California cinematic. So for these first two, usually when I'm color grading, I just, pretty simple. I create a new adjustment layer and I drag that adjustment layer over the footage that I'm using. And each individual, segment gets its own adjustment layer. So usually what I do if I'm matching my Blackmagic footage to my Sony footage, I just start with my Blackmagic footage. And I have my own color layout here. And I use Lumetri scopes to kind of get the darkness and the highlights that I want. But basically, I tend to pull down my shadows because the Blackmagic is really not contrasty. Raise my highlights so that nothing is peaking here and nothing is peaking here. And I'll drop some shadows, raise a little bit of highlights, give me a little bit of contrast. I want to add some color because I wanted this footage to be kind of warm. So, and because there's a little bit of green, I usually add a little bit of purple. Depending on what I want, I may add some saturation, but you have to just kind of play a balancing game. There is a trick that you can do to get skin tones like perfectly, but I may save that for a different video. Right now, I'm just going to show you the quick run through of how I do it. So I just do a few minor adjustments to make my footage kind of pop, as you can see here. Now, the big thing is matching this Sony footage to this Blackmagic footage. So for that, this is what I do. First off, my Sony footage is usually very, very punchy, and I just want to kind of bring down the contrast a little bit. The main thing I like to do is I like to go into HSL. Right now, as you can see, the greens of the leaves are completely different because that's just how Sony is interpreting the color green. So I want to get this green of these leaves to match this green. So what I want to do is I want to go to HSL, and I'm going to just select the color green in the spectrum. I'm going to adjust it to where it's mainly selecting my leaves, and you can fine tune this and get it like perfectly selecting just the colors that you want. But for right now, this is going to be the overall color advantage. And I just want to play with this to get it to match the Blackmagic leaves. And they tended to be a little bit, more on the orangey side. So let's see. I'll play with them a little bit there. Maybe get some green. I'm starting to like how the base color of the leaves are. They're much better than what they were. And then I just come in here and I tweak my Sony footage the same way I tweak my Blackmagics. Lower my shadows a little bit so it's not clipping. But the thing about the Sony footage, it is much more contrasty. I'm gonna raise my temperature a little bit. I'm gonna consistently flip back and forth. So this was a little bit of a difficult shoot because there were such hot spots and we were outside, but I think we were pretty okay with clipping highlights. But for the most part, I like how this is starting to look. But yeah, so basically we're getting close to that Blackmagic feel, and for the sake of time, I'm just gonna leave it here. But as you can see, the main thing to help get the Sony footage more like the Blackmagic footage is going into HSL and tweaking it. So here we have indoor footage, which usually is a little bit easier to work with. Indoor footage with Blackmagics, I bring my shadows down again. I bring my blacks up. I like to bring the shadows, punch some highlights a little bit, depending on how I want it to feel. Let's go very neutral with this one. And this footage here actually has a Pro Mist filter on it. So it is gonna be a little bit softer here. It's got that really nice and hazy look to it. That is gonna be really hard to match with the Sony. So I would always recommend using 2 black Pro Mist filters if you can. But in the time I did not have to. But as you can see here, this footage is a little bit cooler. So the one thing I wanna do is kind of take down my contrast. I wanna warm it up just a little bit to try to match. Maybe a little too less contrast. I can't bring my blacks down too much without clipping, but I can bring shadows a little bit, maybe punch highlights up a little bit. But essentially you want that warm tone for the B cam. But as you can see here, this is kind of how I start to get my footage to match. But yeah, so I kind of like how this looks. Pretty much this is how I match my Sony footage to my Blackmagic footage. I just, go into HSL when necessary. And as you can see, this is where we started. Much more saturation here. And I'm just kind of tweaking how the Sony interprets footage. I could actually push these greens a little further into the right direction. So I like to just kind of desaturate and add that way when it comes to the color green. All right, so now that we kind of got how I do my interview footage out of the way, I know this is a super unorthodox video, they always are. I don't really like to do too technical of a thing, but I do want to show you guys. I'm gonna take another adjustment layer. I'm gonna bring it over here. Just gonna cut it in half. This is what I really want to showcase you guys and really the origin of this video. I'm going to use Film Convert Nitrate, and it is just a dream. It is super easy. In fact, before I drag this down, I'm just gonna go back to my traditional settings. That way you can kind of see this a bit better. So Film Convert Nitrate is an effect. You just kind of drag it onto your footage and you have it here in your effects tab. So it wants you to choose your camera. So this was shot on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K with the film profile, and I apply it, and it gives me a very punchy adaptation of color. So basically it takes what was filmed in film and it resets it back to normal. But you can see it's crazy punchy. But the great thing about this is I can control how much I want it to affect my footage. And then there's also different profiles that I can load in of how I want it to interpret the color, which I really, really like. So I really like this H400 Pro just because it has that like vintage look, and I can choose how much I want in there. And also I can still adjust my exposure, my temperature, my tint. What's great about this is you can also add in film grain. So film grain, of course, is to get rid of that digital look and just to give it more a traditional feel. So 35mm film grain, it's gonna be kind of hard to see here. You can increase the size of your grain and you should be able to see the textures here in the mountains kind of getting a little bit crazy when you start adding film grain to it versus no film grain to it. But because of this, I've really enjoyed filming with like a 4 to 8 film grain on top of 35mm full frame, that is, to give it just a little bit of a digital presence. It really works with just the raw footage. When it comes to YouTube, it compresses it a lot. It happens, but oftentimes you can still get that really, really nice film look. So also in here, you have color correction and you have film curves. So I'm gonna set this back to normal. I really like playing with the film curve because it gives me just a lot of flexibility over my footage. So if I wanna bring those shadows down to make it less overexposed, you know, and bring those highlights back or punch things up, I totally have the ability to do that. This is what makes Film Convert like really, really essential to my B-roll workflow. So here I have a different clip. The white balance is a bit different. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Drag nitrate over. Come in, choose my camera. 6K, film, apply. It punches my footage up a lot. Come down here, kind of choose how much I want it to affect my footage, while also choosing which film style I want to actually have my footage in. But basically what I did for the California cinematic is I just tried a bunch of different film styles and I just seen what I liked and seeing how much grain I liked in my footage. But yeah, so you don't have to do too much when it comes to color grading with Film Convert. So it just simplifies the process a lot. What I love to do is throw on essentially what would be a LUT, but it's a film stock. And oftentimes, maybe I'll bring down shadows, which will bring down my highlights in turn, which gives it this very vintage feel. It's not too much that goes into it, but it's really simple. That's why I like it. So, but yeah, I definitely think you should try it. It has become one of the best things about my B-roll workflow or my actual cinematic workflow. But when it comes to client stuff, I still just give it a very normalized color touch. Some of the stuff that I've been doing doesn't require too much or too heavy color grading because a lot of these things are 1080p and they've just been delivered on social or they've just been normal small projects. But you can take this stuff and you can push it a lot further. And of course, if you're really into the cinematic life, Film Convert just makes the footage, I don't know, it just does something special to it. So I'm sold. It's about, I think it's like $100 for the education discount. Maybe it's $150. I'm not too sure on the pricing. I think I got mine for like $80 to $100 through educational discounts. But yeah, so I know that was a lot. I never really like making videos this long that explain this much, but I felt like it was essential. You guys asking me, you know, how my color workflow works, and it's not that hard. It is really, really basic. In fact, it's probably too basic for most applications, but it gets the job done. Also, with all that being said, how are you guys liking the new angle? This is my new computer setup. This is a sneak peek of the new office space, but yeah, so I have this different layout that you may be seeing soon once I finish it. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it to Chris at the desk and we're gonna get this whole video wrapped up. All right, that's all I have for you today, guys. So if you liked that video, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, consider hitting the subscribe button, you know, because I'm gonna be bringing you more content just like this every week. But with that all being said, I mean, that's all I have. So if you want to stick around and see me solve another Rubik's Cube, I'm kidding. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Peace.